Cineverm. Hello, welcome to Cineverm, a weekly podcast discussing films in and out of the cinema. My name is Anthony Renteria.
And I'm David.
This week on episode 28, we're discussing Luca, directed by Enrico Casarosa. And here is a quick synopsis. Two young boys experience an unforgettable Italian summer filled with gelato, pasta, and endless scooter rides. But all the fun is threatened by a deeply held secret. They are sea monsters from another world just below the water's surface. Alright, so I think I am the animation fanatic from the two of us.
Yeah, you seem to be.
So maybe I'll kick this conversation off first.
Definitely.
We just watched the movie like minutes ago, so I'm still like processing a lot of it, but one thing that I really enjoyed about this film was the visuals of it. I don't know if they've done this in other Pixar films, or maybe you can tell me if they have or not, but this one had like an imitation film grain. Like, did you notice?
Yes, I did notice that. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so beautiful. Like, that automatically just, I don't know, just added like a texture to the whole CGI that I don't think I've seen in the other Pixar films, and it really made it feel, I don't know, it made it feel like way more lively than I thought it would.
Yeah,
So I really liked that.
I wrote that down as well. Like, I wrote down specifically there something about their skin. It was really textured and grainy, and it just looked really good. Like, it looked tactile. I wrote that word down because it just looks like you could. It's weird, but they look like physical objects. You know, like it didn't have that too smooth look of a lot of animated movies. So I thought that was really cool.
And then, along with the visuals, I don't know if this was, again, I think the last Pixar film I watched was Toy Story 4. And I guess it was in that one, but in this one it was so noticeable, like when you saw rocks or pebbles or like all the real objects in the world seemed like it was like photogrammetry levels of detail. Like, if you were to remove all the human and non-human characters from this film, I feel like it would just be like a lifelike image.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Same exact thing. I was like, oh god, the backgrounds. I was just thinking like, why you could put if they put photorealistic people in this movie, then it would just look like a film. I mean, it would be passable.
Yeah, I mean, knowing Disney, I feel like they're not that far from that. Like, that's a whole different conversation from the film, but I feel like they're really close to. They'll probably do that, like Mandalorian season 6 or something. But yeah, so the visuals I just really loved about the film. Like, this, I don't know if it's just I haven't seen a Pixar film in a while, but out of all the CGI films that I've seen in the past few years, this one is very high up there visually. But I guess on the plot side is where the film kind of slips a little bit for me. I enjoyed like all the town stuff way more than the sea creature thing, and then I don't know. It was a weird film. I'm still like processing my thoughts on a lot of it. So, what are your overall thoughts while I think about that?
Yeah, very similar. There was something about the look of the sea creature stuff, the underwater stuff, that just didn't look good to me. I don't know what it was, but all the water effects look amazing, but the characters, I guess the character design I didn't like. It was like too cartoony. I don't know. And it's what you were talking about, that making it photorealistic eventually. I kind of want that. For some reason I want like a different style of characters. I don't know I think they just do it because it creates an interesting contrast, I guess, between the really realistic backgrounds, and they don't want to hit the uncanny valley, you know, and make the characters look way too photorealistic, but like uncanny because something's wrong with their eyes or whatever. So they don't want to do that. So it seems like every Pixar movie, they pick a slightly different animation style. And I was reading a little bit about the director talking about this animation style, what they picked and how they wanted to make it really cartoony, and like the body movements and stuff. They wanted it to look a certain way to kind of add to the humor. And but I don't know, something about the way the faces looked, I just didn't. And then the voice acting was pretty good, but I don't know if you felt this, but eventually I got really tired of their voices, especially the main character's voice. I don't know what it was, but I just got really annoyed by it, and I was just like, oh man. I think it was just the high pitched little kid voice, but I've never thought about that when watching a Pixar movie before, so I don't know if I was just thinking too much because there wasn't really anything that interesting to think about in the movie, or if I was or if that was real, but yeah, the overall plot of the movie was very, as a lot of other reviewers have said, it just feels very cookie cutter and very safe, and there wasn't anything that Pixar emotional about it, except for maybe the very end shot. I got a little bit of that like emotion feeling when he was leaving on the train. Oh shoot, I shouldn't do spoilers, should I? Yeah, that doesn't give me. I didn't even say the character's name, but someone in the movie leaves on a train, and I got a little bit of that emotional Pixar tingle, but that's it. I mean, the rest of the movie, I was just kind of like zoned out watching it because it was sort of a boring cookie cutter plot. I mean, I guess that was my overall plot. Was meh. It was kind of just one of those, almost every movie we've watched so far where you just turn your brain off, except for Saint Maud, I would say. But but you just turn your brain off. You just let the amazing images just kind of fall over your brain, and you don't think about it too much. And it's an enjoyable movie. It's a pleasant movie. It's like a nice cool gelato on a summer day.
Did they even eat? Oh, all right, that's spoilers. I can't say if they ate or did not eat gelato.
Right, that's a very, very serious spoiler you almost dropped there.
Oh my gosh. So, about the voices. That's interesting. I found the other character annoying. I forgot his name. Not the main character, but the other male friend character.
Alberto?
Yeah, for some reason I found his whole character annoying, and I guess I get, like, the thing that kind of bothered me with the story, it does feel, like, incredibly safe.
Yep.
And it's weird because, like, I was looking on Letterboxd and just, like, reading the reviews and stuff, and there's, like, obvious comparisons to, like, what is it called? Call Me By Your Name and all that.
Yeah.
And, like, all the, like, fan discourse around this film is, like, oh, this is... Oh, I don't have the terms pulled up, but there's like, I don't know the terms, so I don't want to fuck them up. But there's like two different terms for like when a film is written or created where it's like queer aware, and then the other one is like it's queer intentional or something. I don't know the exact terms because I don't have them in front of me, and like one is good, and then the other one is like I'm kind of reading that it's perceived as bad because it's almost like they don't have the courage to just make it like a queer film, like there's and I feel that from Disney a lot. Like they seem like pretty stringent corporation that really cares about their image and what they're perceived as. But
the perfect example is the one of the most recent Star Wars movies. They made a big deal out of, it's gonna be the first gay character in Star Wars, and it was like a character way in the background of just one little group shot celebration scene. So that's a classic Disney move. Yeah. So
I guess I had a question. Like, what do you feel like this film is either of those things? Like, do you feel like they must have been aware about Call Me By Your Name and how there would be immediate comparisons to that?
I kind of think from what I was reading, what the director said, and all interviews, he has said no. I was not thinking about that at all. I was literally just thinking about my childhood and because in Italy and my best friend that I had as a kid that was like more adventurous than me, and our summers together, like that's all he was thinking about supposedly. But and I kind of believe him. Like I don't think I think he literally wasn't thinking about that, and then people are just coming and being like, "Yeah, but what about? Oh, I mean, like even the director of Call Me by Your Names is, his name's Luca, so it's kind of weird."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Yeah, it's very strange that." Well, I don't know. It makes sense that people want to see that in the movie, but I don't think the director intended that at all. I think maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't think any of that was intentional, but I see why people, because it is just funny that it's very similar visually to the the setting to call me by your name, and then there's certain things in the movie where that make me, because of that discourse, it's like I'm reading things into the movie, like little moments where I'm like, is that like, are they trying to do something there, like okay, I can't talk about that scene because that's the ending. But whatever, there's certain things we can talk about later.
It does. And this kind of like leads back to the question you asked in Saint Maud about the like author intention or whatever, and where I think one of my answers was like, sometimes people will perceive something as something else, and then maybe the author or filmmaker, creator, or whatever will start being like, oh no, I don't want it to be that. But then like what's crazy with this film is like us as an audience just being aware of the comparison, and even though maybe the film doesn't have any real tangible signs of that, it's like I was feeling the same thing. Like I was watching some scenes and then I was like, oh, this could, like I was imagining how it could evolve into a relationship, or like how a moment could show a higher sense of whatever, or like go deeper into the relationship in some way, but it never did. Like it was always like, oh, they're not doing that. But then there was other moments when they would stare at each other for like 1 second too long, and I'm like, wait, they are doing, no, wait, no. So it I feel like it didn't help the movie. Like, and it's weird because I don't think it's the writer's fault, because I don't feel like it was. I don't feel like it was trying or making a statement about it.
The director specifically says in some interview that the whole he purposely put the movie in a pre-adolescent. The characters are not.
Yeah.
They're kids, so there's nothing romantic going on there. So yeah. I believe it. I kind of believe him, because I kind of feel I'm thinking, how with the Saint Maud episode you were thinking from the writer's perspective, or how annoying that would be to kind of make a movie a certain way, and then people start reading a different thing into it, and it's like I could kind of sense his, even just reading these interviews, I could kind of sense his annoyance, because he probably gets asked that in almost every interview, and he has to just keep saying like, no, like it was just me and my best friend when we were in Italy, like, and the fact that he is Italian. It's not like this story was kind of like manufactured. This was like a story he probably already had in his head that he wanted to write, and then Disney just picked it up and hired him and stuff. So yeah, I kind of believe him. Oh, and I also read that some other people are reading in like some kind of refugee or immigrant sort of
what the
thing into it, which, and again, he said, no, really wasn't thinking about that at all. So yeah, if people will read whatever political thing they want to into it, which is fine, and kind of makes it more interesting, especially when it's kind of a boring plot like this one. But
so that, like, as a writer, I'm now curious, like, how would you avoid this? Like, I guess the problem with this film is it is about, two friends having this friendship, but it feels very thin and light. Like, it feels like, and this is like where I normally dislike a lot of kids films, because it just feels like thin and light for the purpose of like, like maybe the kids won't get it, so you need to trim it down or make the beats and the moments like insanely predictable and very obvious and generic. Where I think some of the best Pixar films, like I really liked Coco, Finding Nemo I really enjoyed, WALL-E, Ratatouille, Up, Inside Out. Like, I feel like a lot of those kind of push that emotional meter to a level. As an adult, you're like, oh wow, this is pretty in depth. And I feel like this film was very light in the emotional range.
Which doesn't really make, like, you think that Pixar, like an entity like Pixar or Disney, once they get to a certain level, like, it's okay if they have a movie that doesn't do as well, you know, because they have plenty of money and it's not like a thing. Like they're not like a struggling studio or anything. So it's like
Yeah.
why do they play it so safe? Is it just greed? Like they have to hit a certain number, box off a number, and they don't want to do anything that's gonna compromise that. I don't even know.
I think it's the team. It's like because Pixar has like this very unique history creatively where I don't know the exact details, but I have a book that I need to read about it. But there's like it's called like the Pixar way, Pixar theory or something.
Hmm.
And like the way they produce their films, it's almost by like it's like a committee, and it's like these mega producers. Like I see like Pete Docter, I think is the producer on this.
Yep.
I think he's like the new head of Pixar, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
But regardless, there's like these key figures, and they're usually writer directors as well, and they kind of like there'll be a director, like this guy was the director for Luca, and then these other three voices in the studio are like very powerful to where like they kind of influence the story, and then they're all like kind of workshopping it together, and I think that adds to where they almost all film like they're cut from the same cloth. But I feel like that is probably where the restrictions and limitations are being placed. And instead of them pushing further, maybe there is those voices who want to be a little more conservative with what they do narratively, I guess, or character-wise.
I mean, it's Disney, so
Yeah.
I just feel like you get to a certain corporate point, and it's like it would be
Yeah.
super hard for them to make a movie that would like. I just can't imagine them making a movie in the future that would be pushing the boundaries that much. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, but it's like the best movies. I mean, when you think of Pixar, don't you pretty much think about like the older movies? I mean, that's
Yeah.
I
I
can't,
do.
I can't think of, besides Wall-E, which I really liked. Like I can't think of any modern ones that I would like really liked. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just kind of, I don't know. Oh, and when Disney bought Pixar, which I can't remember when that was exactly. And then I feel like that's when it really started going downhill, because I'm sure they had more creative control, or Disney had some say in what they were doing, and they started pumping out more sequels, just for the money, and
Oh, yeah.
it's just like, oh god, it just started getting bland. And but yeah, we could talk about that more later if you want, just Pixar, Disney in general. But as for the movie, I mean, what
Yeah.
what general like rating would you give it?
Um, um, I don't know yet. Let me. There's some other things I want to say.
All right.
Shit, what was I gonna say? Do. So yeah, I really like the vibe of the film. Like I guess because I feel like I'm coming off way more negative than because I think I'm way more positive on this film than you are. Because
Yeah.
I feel like even though it had like the emotions never hit the peak that I think previous Pixar films have hit, and it's a very simple plot, and the scenarios and situations they get in are very simple. But there is something about it also being so low stakes for a Pixar film. Like it's not this gigantic plot to save like family members or like to question existence or like or finding. Well, I mean, I guess there is a finding a missing child a little bit. But I kind of like the like low stakes nature of the film, and I really like that vibe. Like I kind of wish this went even further into I guess the simplicity of the film. Like it really, this is probably like the closest Pixar has ever gotten to feeling like a Studio Ghibli film, where it kind of just has like little moments. This film doesn't really have that many little moments. Like there's little like maybe like seconds of moments where a character's like reflecting on something. But I felt like it could have been so easy to turn this into like a Studio Ghibli version of what Pixar could be aiming for or doing. So I really liked that. I really liked how calm it felt for the most part, and the general like there's some films that I watch that I like just enough to where I wish I could have written this film. Like if I could, like if this was still a screenplay and they sent this to me, and they're like, "Hey, we want to make this movie about this thing, and no one can figure it out. Here's your budget. Do whatever. You can rewrite it, dude." I would be like over the moon because I don't know. I can imagine what I would do with this story, and it like excites the hell out of me because I think I love the idea of like two friends and one being like nervous and scared, which is like the main character, and one being extremely reckless and just kind of dumb, like the other male character. And I think that's a cool concept. Like, but I just think the pitfalls of this film, like most family fare, is very dumb, and like it's boiling down to elementary level writing, where I don't think kids films should be elementary at all. Like I think if anything, I feel like kids films should be the most mature and complicated, but for some reason people who make kids films are really afraid of that. And that's why I like Studio Ghibli films, because like they're fucking weird, and and like I watch a Studio Ghibli film and it doesn't fucking make sense to me. Like I'm like, what was that film about? And then it takes me like days to process it. And I don't know, I wish an American studio like Pixar or any other Western animation studio, I wish someone would be like a version of Studio Ghibli, because I would really love to see the Western perspective of kids films, because I feel like there's a huge hole of that.
Like old fairy tales. I mean, this is the whole, like they were very, you read them now and they're very disturbing and psychologically like dense, and so it's like why can't Pixar movie? I mean, and some of them are close to that, but it just never seems to. They've never seemed to really embrace that. Probably because of money. But
all right, but so I'll get into my ratings. So that's kind of my overall impression. I would say I think this is a good film. I think if you like Pixar, you'll like this film. If you like cute things, you'll like this film. If you like two young boys having a summer in Italy, you'll probably like this film. So let's see, what would I rate this? God dang. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
All right. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. It was it is a completely just kind of like smooth brain movie where you just it just felt like kind of like a quiet, oh man, that's hard because I enjoyed watching it more than A Quiet Place, but it was still just on that level to me where there wasn't anything that interesting. I almost want to give it a 6 because of the animation, but then I think the animation part of it, it's so automatic probably now with Pixar. I mean, they probably just like Disney used to do with their animated movies, they probably just reuse a lot of their probably like character models, and you know what I mean? Like that's not the interesting part of the movie, even though it's, I guess, just from a technical point of view, it's interesting, but I don't want to give them too many extra props for that, because the visuals were nice looking, but they weren't that creative, I guess. I thought it was really weird how, the fantasy kind of daydreams that he would have, the main character, every once in a while. And like those were the most visually interesting part of the movie, but they were, those felt so forced, because it was kind of what I felt was that it was almost like the makers of the movie realized like we don't have anything that interesting or creative visually to do in this story, so we're just going to throw in some daydreams every once in a while so that we can do some kind of trippy, whatever sequences every once in a while. But it just felt kind of lame to me, or forced. So I don't know, I'm not going to give them much credit for that as a movie, because I just feel like I'm going to forget about this movie in like pretty easily. I'm going to forget about this movie, and it's just going to blend into a lot of the other animated movies that I've seen, animated kids movies. I don't know. It didn't have that Pixar spark to me that added anything extra to it. So yeah, that's my 5 out of 10.
Okay. And let me see where. So that concludes our our review portion of Luca. If you don't want to be spoiled, pause the podcast now. And while you do that, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review or comment on what you think about our opinions. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can email us at cineverm@yahoo.com. And yeah, so let's spoil this. So is there any big moments that you want to...
We could talk about that ending that we weren't going to talk about earlier, like,
oh yeah.
and how that was the part of the movie, that was the one moment where I was like, okay, this is a little like,
You teared up?
Yeah, like I was like, okay, this hit something in my brain, where he's leaving on the train and the shot of the kid, running after the train, which is very cliche, but yeah. Still, for some reason, it was kind of nice. And he runs out into the rain and turns into the fish.
Oh, yeah. See,
briefly,
like that seems
and then
like...
you see him through the tunnel, and it was a really nice shot, like back of him disappearing, just kind of naturally behind the tunnel, and then the main character was looking out the window at this like really nice shot of sun coming through the clouds over some mountains. And I was just like, oof, this just looks so nice, and it's kind of emotional. So I like that part. That moment hit me somewhere. But yeah. Oh, the other thing about that scene that I was going to talk about was their hand. Well, first of all, that scene in movies, I mean, if you've watched many movies, probably in your brain you're thinking of two lovers and one of them is having to leave. In fact, doesn't that happen in Call Me by Your Name? Doesn't he leave on a train?
Oh, I haven't seen Call Me by Your Name.
What the?
You just spoiled. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
Oh God, such a good movie. I really like that movie. But I'm gonna do a triple viewing when Dune and French Dispatch come out, and I'll just overdose on Timothy Chalamet. Timothy overdose, yeah. But no, it's a really good movie. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering it right, yeah, they even have that scene of him leaving on a train.
Yeah.
But yeah, their hands kind of linger a little too long when they're when they're leaving, and I was like, okay, I don't know if they're doing this on purpose. They're probably not, but I don't even know. There were a couple moments like that where I was like, really, like, is there no subtext to this? But
you see, like, I think, and I guess this is what I wanted to say in the review portion, but I was too dumb back then. But what, like, that's. I feel like if this film had a stronger purpose and plot, it wouldn't have those comparisons, Like, It feels thin enough to where you want more, and that's where people, rightfully so, like we're doing right now, like we can almost imagine the subtext meaning something, because there is no meaning in the actual plot. Like he's saying it's just him and his friend, but then there's so many elements of this plot that kind of drags away from that idea. Like adding that third female character doesn't really add to a story about you and your friend specifically, Nah. And then
besides just having the element of the friends kind of competing for friendship was that was the only plot thing that really influenced, but having that third character where it was like, oh, it's awkward. Like, am I your best friend or is she your best friend? That whole conflict.
I feel like you don't have to add that to add conflict. Like, I feel like as a writer, you can add conflict without having to add another element. Like, you can add conflict to what's already there. Like, at least that's what I try to think about doing or whatever. But yeah, like I feel like I wish you would have picked a more emotional anchor to where we wouldn't have to like imagine this subtext, because like I'm sure there's other films I've seen with young kids or whatever having a great summer, and I don't imagine any subtext. And like most films with young kids, it's always two boys or a boy and a girl or two girls, and like it's never assumed like it is in this film so heavily.
Yeah, is it just because it's animated? Maybe, or I don't even know, or is it? I don't know why that would be. I'm trying to think why that would be different than, like you said, like a live action movie where it's like two kids just having fun.
But I wish you would have chose to do something. Like, I mean, I think this would have been a way better film if it would have accepted it and just made it a queer film. Like, I think it would have been
way
Like,
more interesting.
dude, it would have been amazing because there would have just been more to talk about. I feel like, and then you could have dug deeper into that. And then like they have the perfect metaphor. Like I was reading a
I
letterbox
know.
review, and someone
Yeah.
summarized it perfectly. It's like, oh, these two kids want to go out of the water, and everyone perceives them as monsters. But then when they finally come out in the final race, the town celebrates them, and they realize, they don't have to be hiding or anything.
Oh yeah, it's so
And how that's
obvious that this
yeah,
story would have been such a perfect vehicle for that. Like coming out of the water, like it's just like, oh come on. And they have to disguise themselves, around people, and it's just like, oh my god, like
yeah.
they could have done it, but
I mean,
man.
that would have broke my heart if they would have actually gone through with that. Like I could, and that's why I'm saying like, God, man, I really wish I could have wrote this film. Like I can just imagine so many, and then using water to be the thing that like fucking reveals them. Like
Yeah.
you could just do the perfect crying raining scene where they're crying. Like why not have them when they're like peak moment of them like breaking up or not being friends or whatever? It just starts crying, and maybe one's under like a whatever roof thing to where he's not being rained on, the other one is. Like I don't know, you can just like visually there's so much to play with that would tie to emotions, and that's what like it just drives me crazy with ideas, and I'm like, God damn, man, you had like a
Well,
fucking golden ticket of a concept. If
I
you were
f-
to
yeah.
go into that meaning, which he didn't, so
I feel like though with Pixar, I mean, there's about a 90% chance they're gonna make a sequel to this, and I feel like
oh, I don't think they will.
you don't think they're gonna make a sequel?
No, they haven't made a sequel to Brave or Inside Out or The Good Dinosaur or Coco. They're
Ah,
definitely not going to make one of Onward or of Soul. They didn't make one of Wall-E or Ratatouille. I feel like this is like when there's a sequel series, it's very obvious.
hmm.
Like there has to be, and this is where it's a corporation that really cares about money. There has to be the appeal of toys. You can't make toys out of Luca. And like which ones have sequels that you can make toys out of? Well, let's look. Toy Story,
Cars would be the most
Cars,
recent example.
Incredibles, and then Little Fishes and Finding Dory and Nemo.
Yeah, I just
Oh, and
read
then Monsters. Yeah.
the only indication that I read on somewhere that Disney sent out like some kind of questionnaire to customers, maybe of Disney Plus, like if there was a sequel to Luca, like how much interest would you have in it? So they're like they're asking people to see if there's like enough interest, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was enough interest. But
Yeah. I mean, if you have to ask if there's enough interest, then there's not enough. Like, there's like a whole department of people who are in Disney probably paying attention to like marketing and statistics and analytics. If they don't see the answer and they have to ask people, then I feel like it's a given no, in my opinion.
yeah, but maybe because of these characters, because of the subtext, they realize, oh, we can make some cash because there's enough people that are curious
Yeah.
where these characters would be if we just
And
flash forward to them as teenagers. There's so much they could do, and they could tease that the subtext a little bit more. They probably would not go all the way with it because it's still a Pixar movie,
Yeah.
probably mainly for kids. They know that's their main audience is families and kids, and they don't want to scare away probably like homophobic people because that's probably a lot of their audience. They don't want to scare away the Christians. They don't want to scare away
oh,
the
God.
religious. They don't want to scare away the religious people. So they probably wouldn't go all the way, but they could tease it enough that it would create some kind of like controversy or like to get people to watch it. But then it would just be nothing again. That's my prediction. My prediction is that I almost want to predict that they are going to make a sequel to this because it has so much potential for like a stir around it.
Yeah.
That would bring in people that wouldn't normally maybe watch these Pixar, maybe have given up on Pixar, but there's something to talk about. So I don't know. I'm feeling
I think
it.
that's and that's the other part of the it was like queer aware, and then the other phrase I forgot that weren't the exact terminology. But one of them that was bad is when a studio like this is aware that people are going to assume subtext, and then they never come out and release statements that it is intentional, and then they basically receive the good will of both parties without committing to either, and you're just playing like you're playing people basically. So if they were to make a sequel and they still push more into the like subtext of that while never acknowledging it or accepting it, then I think that's where it becomes a problem. Because that's just like, if you're doing it because out of a money cause instead of actually making a narrative that's pushing an idea or something.
But it's Disney. I mean, they would definitely do it. Like, I have no doubt that they would do that. Yeah. They don't care. Yeah. I don't know. God. But yeah, could have been more interesting, I guess. Also another thing that sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, you go.
Another thing that was a little bit like in this vein is that this movie is set in Italy. In the first few minutes, I was annoyed because some of the people had Italian accents, but then of course the main characters don't. They're just generic little American kid accents. So like, why not go all the way and just have them all be? Why couldn't they hire an Italian kid actor? Why couldn't they just hire all Italian voice actors? I don't get it. Like, wouldn't that have been more interesting?
Well, maybe under the ocean, everyone has American accents.
Yeah, but then what was annoying if you thought about the movie too much was that Luca was immediately able to read the Italian poster that Alberto had hanging on the wall, and I was like, well, how can he read Italian? Wait a second. And it was just kind of silly because I was like, oh, and they have Italian names, and so I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I kind of wanted all of them to have Italian accents. Maybe because it's just such a nice accent, but also it's just that the whole Disney thing of like, which it seems like, yes, Americanizing, but also being really patronizing with and watering down different cultures to appear like they're multicultural and whatever, which they've been doing in every single movie now since, I don't know when they started this, but
I would say Pixar themselves started with Coco, and then
Brave too. I mean,
Brave was, what was Brave, like Nordic or something, or
no, like Scottish or whatever.
Oh, it's Scottish, yeah.
I mean, and Disney did it before, I'm sure, but I'm just not.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they like to do that. French with the Ratatouille.
Oh yeah.
What was the Hawaiian one that they did?
Oh, Moana.
Yep.
Yeah. AIs with Wall-E.
AI culture appropriation. Probably like Mulan might have been the first, maybe, that was sort of semi-controversial. I don't know. Like,
oh yeah, the old 2D one, yeah. Yeah,
the old 2D Mulan. But they love to do that. They want to touch on every culture. Like, oh god, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for one that they're coming out with that's like Colombian, I think. That looks like it's
Encanto or something. Yeah, that's on our list for the
Encanto. Yeah, which looks like this exact same thing where they take this culture. They probably sent people, like I read about this one about Luca, that Pixar sent a team of people out to just the Italian Riviera just to kind of, I don't know what they do. They just probably spend a bunch of money and look around and scribble notes.
They take notes. What did they do? They ate spaghetti. Added in the movie, spaghetti eating contest.
Yeah. Oh, the Vespas. I heard someone say this word, so we're gonna put it in there, and and they probably did the exact same thing for this upcoming movie. But it's just kind of annoying after a while because then it's like every movie is like that. It's just like, ugh. Yeah, I don't know.
You're making me kind of want to bump this puppet down.
Nah, don't let me.
But yeah, like I feel that with, like, I guess, yeah, it's like, why not go all the way. Like I have a dream when I ever make it, if I ever make it or whatever. Like I would love to, go to Italy and make an Italian film, but it actually be an Italian film. Like I wish like why can't this movie actually be in Italian? Like why can't it be a foreign animated film just backed by an American studio? Like I feel like that would be my dream if Pixar ever reached that level. And then this goes back to where I was telling you about like the heads of Pixar. Like even though they have an Italian director who wrote and directed this, like why does it still feel so
Yep.
Americanized? And then like it feels like it all points to these other creative heads who probably have more weight than he even does over his film. So it just
Yeah.
I think that's and like I hate anything where it's like I'm not like I believe there can be multiple writers of a film or even multiple directors of a film, but when the vision isn't unified, I don't think it ever works for the better. And like I feel like every episode I talk about why I don't watch TV, but that's another reason why I don't watch TV is because it's like it's too many cooks in the kitchen. And like I know like there like it's never worked for the better in my opinion. There always has to be like one head honcho, and I know that's like the showrunner or whatever, but I don't know, like I feel like it's still a mash of ideas versus like a single creation from a single voice.
God, especially like with animated movies, I always wonder what does the director actually do besides just I just imagine that the director of an animated movie is just kind of all day he's just sort of walking back from one room to another, like looking over people's shoulders and just kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, that looks good. Uh-huh. Yeah, let's make it more whatever cartoony. Oh yeah, I like the shape of that fin. Like I like those colors. Like I mean that's all he's doing. It's just walking around. I don't know if you've ever seen like the footage of well that's even of George Lucas behind the scenes of the prequel Star Wars prequels because so much of it was digital. Like that's a lot
Yeah.
of what he was doing was he was just walking back and forth and just approving stuff that other people have made. And I feel like with an animated movie, like what else could he be doing? I mean, I think he
Yeah.
wrote it though. I mean, so at least he did that. I think he was one of the writers. It was him and some other guy that wrote
Oh,
it.
for
But
for Luca?
yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
Or
was
am
like
I
yeah, it's
making that up?
him, but then also three other
Oh,
writers.
three others? Oh God. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And yeah, but I mean, to give credit to some animators, I don't think all animators are like. I feel like there's probably a great deal of attention and detail that must be to that position. Like I think about like Wes Anderson when he did his stop motion animated films. Like those feel like just pure visions from Wes Anderson, and the same thing with like Studio Ghibli films.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just like a and like I out of all the animated John or I would call it a form, the animated form of cinema. I feel like the 3D CGI component of it is the weakest because it's just prone to so many voices. Like you can just feel so many people adding little things to it. Where in stop motion and in 2D specifically, like it always feels like a single voice. And
It's
and then it's
probably
it's fitting that those two are the ones that are like basically dead.
yeah. It's because the these animated the Pixar type movies. It's like they're so easy to alter, I guess, and change.
Yeah.
So it's like whoever can do that, they can go in and just change that, take that out. Like with film, it's like they filmed it. It's like you can go back and do reshoots, I guess, but those are
Yeah.
expensive so it's like
Yeah.
once you filmed it, it's done, and the director was there, saying, okay, that was a good take, like that's good. Let's move on or whatever. So, but with animated movies, it's just yeah, it's not like that.
Yeah. So, I guess one thing, what did you think about his like weird daydreams and like imaginations? There was like four or five in the film that
Yeah,
kind
I
of,
didn't. I just felt like they were forced. I just didn't like them. They were just so. The first one was confusing because I was like, "What is going on here exactly?" Like, is he? It just suddenly cut to one of those fantasies, and I was like, "What's like? Is he daydreaming? Does he have visions? Like, what is going on? I don't know. So it was a little annoying to me, to be
Yeah.
honest. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I liked them conceptually, but they didn't feel like part of the. It didn't feel like part of the same film. Like it felt like little, like and like it kind of leads back to that committee thing. Like it feels like, oh, we need a way to show this character is interested about this, and then someone was like, ooh, he daydreams, and then that's when we go like super off the rails and to his imagination. Like it didn't feel like it was actually a part of the film. It felt like something that was added later to me.
Yeah,
And like there's a
yeah, to me, like I feel like there had to have been someone at some point that was like, maybe some producer or something that screened the film, and was like, this is too boring. Like we need to add something more visually interesting,
yeah.
more exciting, and so they added those. It just didn't feel
Yeah.
natural.
There was like a lot of stuff that felt very unnatural. Like in the beginning, especially, it was like this film had like a really rocky start. Like I was kind of confused what it was doing, and then like when he first meets his friend, and they're in that like tower or whatever, and then it's like there's like this like whole chunk of a scene that's like 10 minutes later, like 20 hours later or whatever,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
like fixing a bike. I was like, is this like a montage or is it not a montage? And then it like cut into a montage, and then it was just like a long, like I don't know, the pacing of that whole first like 30 minutes felt like it was like really over edited, and they're like, oh shit, we need to cut this thing down.
It was
And
really
then
fast. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until they got to the city where it's really started to kind of slow down and actually felt like a film. Like, in all honesty, I think the worst part of this film is the whole fish thing. Like,
Yep.
there was nothing enjoyable from that at all.
No, I agree.
Like, I think you could
Well,
have made
okay,
a great...
except for Uncle Uko. That was the only thing I liked about that character. That was fun.
That was the see-through fish?
Yeah, the weird creepy uncle that just shows up and then doesn't do anything after that. He is just like that. Well, I wish that they hadn't teased us and would maybe had showed, like they'd forced him to go to the deep so that we could see that, because that had a lot of creative potential. But I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to get out of the water because they didn't want it to be too similar to like the Finding Nemo movies or something. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would have been a more interesting thread. Like, if I were to keep the ocean stuff, I would have sent him down there, and then him sort of try to escape. Maybe his friend comes to save him, they escape.
Yeah.
Just to have, like, that a 10-minute scene of seeing all the other see-through creatures, or, like, just being in complete darkness.
Because that character was so fun, the Uncle Uko, and I'm like, I just imagined, what the deep would be like. A bunch of socially awkward fish that don't get out much. They don't get out much, and they're very like isolated and awkward, and there's so many possibilities. So yeah.
But yeah, as a whole, the whole fish stuff seemed like I think it would have been so cool just to have a film about this whatever race is in this town. And like, I don't know if that aspect is from his childhood or not. Probably isn't. But let's say it was. I mean, that would, I think that would have made a whole better narrative. It would have felt more like The Sandlot instead of this fantasy thing. It's just a summer where a bunch of kids are trying to, have fun and compete in this thing. And I think that would have removed a lot of the suggestive imagery or whatever, or subtext, if it would have just started with all three of them. Not really together, but just all the characters being aware of the other character's existence. And then, Luca becomes friends with the other guy. I forgot his name. And then the girl, Like, I feel like that's an easy narrative switch. And that would eliminate all the subtext that anyone could have.
That's true. If they were just all three friends from the beginning, or like acquaintances. Mm-hmm. Yep. That is true. And yeah, because that little town, like the animation of it was just looked so nice. Like every shot of the town, and I don't know, like I was looking at like the edges of the frame at like the houses that kind of went up into the mountain, and the sunlight back there. Yeah. Oh, it just looks so good. So I would have loved to see more of the town, and just they could have just done the whole movie there. These people are just humans. There's nothing weird fantasy about it. And
Yeah, and I feel like you could tell the same story with so much potency. Like if it was just that the older kid, or I don't know if he's older, but the more rebellious kid, if his parents like literally died or something, like have some real emotional core, and then he's kind of just like homeless and whatever, and he's just around the town, and then Luca meets him, and you could have the same dynamics with his parents and family, and then I don't know. I just think that would have made such an awesome film. Like I'm remembering there was like a whole night scene with Luca and the girl like, climbing over the rooftops, and I was like, wow, this is fucking like stunning. Like the night visuals were so like glorious,
and the day visuals. I mean, it was just so just looked so good. Has Pixar yet done a movie where there was no magical elements to it or fantasy? I don't think they have they?
No.
I feel like they're too tied. Wait, what about Brave? Was there I haven't seen Brave.
Yeah, someone gets turned into a bear.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A Bug's Life? No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, what about... Oh, God, yeah, I don't think any of these. I guess they just feel like they got to have that in there because that's just...
And that's always the worst part of all these films. Like, it's the same thing with, like, the Marvel stuff. Like, it's like, just forget about being a Marvel film. Be a film first. Or be a kid's film, and then... I don't know. Like, I feel like anything that breaks reality should only exist if it is adding to a theme or an idea, like, and I think the genre that does it the best when it works is like sci-fi, like Blade Runner, or even the older Star Wars films, like when it's like you're trying to sell a metaphor. That's what these elements are for. And then like in Luca, like I don't really feel like them being monsters is adding to the dynamic of the summer of two friends.
Nope. Yeah, not really, not at all. And then, like, they're accepted immediately at the end, basically.
Yeah,
that was another thing that it was just, there was hard that I didn't feel, I really didn't, and the villain was so obviously wimpy. Like I never felt any. Did you ever feel any threat from any to the main characters? Maybe
no.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe from the dad character. At first, when he didn't know they were fish, I was like, oh man, I felt a little bit, I guess, of tension. Like, this guy might actually try to kill them if he finds out that they're fish. But then, I don't know, nothing really happened. And
I don't know why there has to be a villain. Like, the villain is their like, the problem is their friendship. They're like, oh, God, I hate what, like, it just feels like something out of, like, How to Save the Cat, where, like, oh, you have to have a villain, and then they have to try to defeat them at least 3 times, and then the second time it's really close, and then that's the breaking point, and then the third time he technically defeats them, but then the friends realize they can't overcome this obstacle unless they come together, which brings them together. So then the third time the villain actually loses, and then it's so fucking stupid, but pissed off. Like, this film would have been perfect if you could just cut the villain character. Like, it wouldn't break anything in reality. Like, it would still have the same stress of them getting caught from getting wet or whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. But I would rather eliminate the whole them getting wet conflict and just stick with the human stuff, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's honest. You're more optimistic about this movie being able to be fixed, like, in an interesting way, but to me it's just like, ugh, like, what would you it's hard for me to imagine how you would even make this that interesting of a movie that would actually be noteworthy. I don't know.
Oh, I think I could. Oh, I'm a shitty writer, but I can imagine a good version. I can't write that good version, but I can imagine it. But yeah, let's see. Is there any other major Like, I feel like there isn't that many spoiler things to talk about the film since it's all so obvious. Oh, I don't remember them eating gelato. They ate ice cream.
How do you know
Wait,
that wasn't gelato?
all right, what is gelato then? Like, what
It's
is the difference?
it is ice cream, but it's made differently. Oh God, I gotta Google it.
Oh my god!
It's
Like, don't
it's
tell me. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you don't want me to tell you?
No, no, yeah, yeah. Tell me. I was gonna say, don't tell me gelato is just Italian for ice cream or some stupid shit.
Nah, it's made with
Oh,
butter.
it's how it's made.
It's made with
Okay.
whole milk and sugar. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But
Okay. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, it's just how it's made. So it's just ice cream. Okay, so yeah, that was gelato. Lame.
Yep. Yeah. It's just one of those movies. I was afraid we weren't going to have much to talk about because I was just like, oh man,
Oh,
it's just kind of bland. Like,
yeah.
I really liked the dad character. For some reason, I really liked his whole. That
Oh,
was
the-
one character. The one
The
armed.
daughter's dad.
Yeah, like I liked his how they made him, like the shape of him, and his tiny little like non-existent eyes and his big chin. I don't know. There were some characters that he was the one that I actually liked how they designed him because it was just funny. And
He looked exactly like the dad from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. If you've
Oh,
ever
no.
seen that.
nope.
Oh
Okay.
man, I love that movie.
Yeah. So maybe it wasn't that interesting of a design, but
But no, but it is a visual. Like, I love that visual. And then like when there's some sort of shock, his eyebrows that are like 12 inches thick, like shift
Oh, yeah.
upwards.
and you could finally see his little beady eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the cat. I liked the little cat with the Hitler mustache, but his name was oh shit, what was it? Oh, Machiavelli. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh my god.
There were little fun touches. I did laugh. I mean, I laughed at several points in the movie. It was funny enough.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, I smiled at a lot of stuff. You know, like when they're having fun, it does feel like kids having fun, you know, just being kids and stuff. And then I don't know. I like that kind of vibe of like kind of like children seeking freedom. Like that's something I always fantasized about, so I think it hits like some sort of what is the word? You know, when you have like someone who likes something from their childhood. What the fuck is it
Nostalgic?
called? Yeah, nostalgic. Yeah, I guess I have some nostalgia for that for some reason.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't get much nostalgia from this. I don't know why. I get more nostalgia from like the Toy Story movies or
Oh, I feel nothing from this Toy Story movies. I actually
really?
think they're like bottom tier Pixar.
what the heck are you talking about? What in the world?
Yeah.
You kidding me? Toy Story's like the Pixar movie. I mean, I even like recently I saw clips from it. I'm like, dang, it's like so impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks good, and it's just still kind of feels kind of iconic, and yeah. But
Oh, they are great, but yeah, I just like to hate on things people like, I guess.
Wall-E was another.
Oh, I
was
love
top
Wall-E.
tier.
Wall-E might be my favorite one from the Pixar. Oh, I have a question that I always wonder about. Like, do you think Pixar will ever, you know, like, let's say Toy Story 1. Like, it looks kind of rough nowadays. Like, do you think they'll ever just get that movie and just put it in whatever engine they have and then get it to look like Toy Story 4? Because I know for a fact they'd make a killing. Like, they wouldn't have to change anything, just the visuals.
Oh man,
I think it would be a lot of work, but, I mean, they're doing it with, like, The Lion King. Like, literally a CGI copy and paste of The Lion King.
They might do that with Toy Story. I almost feel like they have done that. I don't know if I'm imagining things, but did they remaster Toy Story at some point?
I mean, they probably have it in, like, 4K, but I'm saying, like, the actual the models and stuff.
Oh yeah, I don't know, because probably all those old files and all that stuff is probably like lost to time. But well, they could probably recreate it probably easily, but I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, man.
But that would be kind of sad. That would be like George Lucas when he tried to do the Star Wars, remaster, add special effects to the Star Wars special editions, and that's the most hated versions of
Yeah.
Star Wars because it's just. Yeah,
But this
I feel
wouldn't be
like,
the same because it's the same content.
yeah, I feel like they'd be too tempted to like alter little things or add things to make it more interesting. Or I don't
But
think it needs to be. I think it's a style. Like it's just a style. Like I don't think with animation, I don't think animation really ages very
I think
badly.
3D animation ages horribly. Like
Really?
like I'm looking at a clip of Toy Story Run right now, and it looks very rough to me. Or like when you watch other like the first Shrek or whatever, like it looks,
What?
yeah.
I don't. It's weird because I never think about that. Even Shrek. It's like you look at it and I think like, dang, that was impressive. Like that came out in
Really? Oh,
2004. Like I'm looking at it like there's not any. I mean, it's good. Looking at the new or I'm looking at screenshots from Toy Story and I'm like, I don't think I would change anything. Because also it
wow.
kind of adds to it makes it look like the time period. Like the first Toy Story kind of looks 90s. It looks very 90s animation, but I think that's a good thing. I don't know.
Hmm.
It looks
That's
nice to me.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would like that. Like if they just did what it looks like in toys, like I would only do it to ones that haven't the look has been revamped, like get the Toy Story 4 look down the line.
Oh man, if they started doing that though, they would just keep doing it, and
Yeah.
that is something Disney would do. Like every 15 or 20 years, they could just come out with a new edition of the Pixar movies, and say that they just go back in and kind of clean up the animation a little bit, and update
Yeah.
it and make a bunch of money. Every generation, they can make a new Toy Story version.
Yeah.
God,
Oh man. Well,
no thanks.
do you have anything else you want to add to this spoiler
Oh,
before we wrap it up, or?
one thing I haven't mentioned is like some of the gestures, the animation. I don't know if you noticed any that stuck out to you, but some of the gestures were really natural looking, and I hadn't really noticed. Maybe because I don't watch enough animated movies, but there were certain things that I was like, "Whoa, that was really interesting." And I read that the director was influenced by the, or they. He said that one of the influences was the, oh God, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and what's the other
Uh,
one that
Isle
he
of
made?
Dogs?
Yeah, those, so Wes Anderson animated movies.
Wow.
And so I kind of felt that in certain, like some of the, how the style of it is like very natural and almost like an awkward way. Like the characters' movements and some of the gestures that they do that you wouldn't see in other movies. Like in this one, there was a gesture where he was watching someone, or he was distracted by seeing his parents, and he was trying to close the door with his hand, but he was missing. And then he looked and like closed the door. Or like there was one where the other character put his hand over his shoulder and he kind of like brushed it off in like a really natural way, and I was like, wow, there were like little nice touches that I don't know why I noticed them, but I was like, they're getting real good with the. But then there were other gestures that I don't know if you noticed this in animated movies, since you watch them a lot, is like there's certain gestures that it seems like they just copy and paste from other movies. There's certain facial expressions, certain ways that they stand. Like I noticed some of those that I was like, oh my God, I've seen that facial expression is in like every single Pixar movie and some DreamWorks animated movies, and
Yeah.
that way that they're standing is just copied and pasted. And so I don't know, that gets a little annoying, but then there were other moments that I was like, hey, this is very naturalistic. I don't know if I don't even know how they make some of the, like, do they use body capture, or do they use bodies as models? Like, do they have people act out the motions, or are they literally just doing it in the computer? I don't know how often they're doing both of those, but
Yeah. I imagine that it's probably a mixture. Like I would for sure imagine they use some sort of real life rigs just to, I mean, you would, because it's either that or you hand animate everything, which I feel like that would just be imperfect. So if you had like a person doing the actions, and they don't even have to be the same scale because you're just shrinking them
Yep.
down digitally, I don't know, I think that would probably be real simple to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are like the kings of like 3D animation. Like I think I said it before. Like I think 3D animation's the bottom of the barrel for animated work, but
Mm-hmm.
they are the top at delivering quality. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. It is just a shame that they don't go a little bit further with their content.
Yeah. I think it's like well, not the simplicity, but like the ease that 3D can bring leads to that kind of unoriginality. Where like in 2D, like that's already such a hard fucking form. Like you have to have so many drawings. So like I know
Yeah.
like Miyazaki, like he never like draws the same face ever again. So like every expression is a new drawing
Yeah.
for every character. And then like I know like the old like Disney cartoons were the same thing. Like I think Disney
Yep.
had said some quote like that, like every expression had to be unique and they could never do the same expression again or something.
Yeah,
And then
I've read a Walt Disney biography, and like at the beginning, like at the beginning years, he was like super strict with that kind of stuff. Just, I mean, eventually, it was only when he got bored with the animated movies. I think it was around Bambi or Cinderella. It was very quick. Like it was only like, that's why I think those are I mean, Snow White and Pinocchio were the ones that he actually was heavily involved in, and all the other ones were just kind of like, well, Fantasia too. So those three, and then after that, it just kind of got where they started copying things and getting lazy because he wasn't interested in the animated movies anymore. But yeah, it's like certain ones like those, you just feel it, like God, like the original Snow White, just like the gestures and the dancing scenes and stuff. It's like they did, they filmed the actors and then tried to do that, to study the motion, and they used to take it really seriously. I just don't know if they're taking it that seriously anymore at Pixar or
oh
Disney.
no, man, it's a money machine.
Yeah.
They need Disney Plus subscribers like me.
Yeah.
So before we end, I guess just in general, like what are you, because I don't think we've ever talked about this, like what is your general taste in like animations? Like you don't like animated films in general?
No, I do. I mean, I wish I had pulled up my list of of just that before we recorded, but no, I mean, I really like certain animated movies. I wish I was good at thinking of them off the top of my head. It has so much potential, though. Like, I mean, animated movies have the most potential of anything because you could do anything with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like sad that it also has the most potential for laziness, I guess, because you can just copy and paste, you know.
And then it's just like, for some reason, especially in Western culture, it's like animation is automatically perceived as a child medium, like it's for children.
Yeah.
And it just like, oh my God, like I feel like we could live in an alternate reality where like animated films could be like an animated version of like Saint Maud, and it would be completely normalized, and like no one would be like, oh look, it's animated. It would just be like, oh, this is a film, and then you watch it and you have an experience, and like I mean it was just, it's so heightening. And then I love how it just, like when you're watching a good animated film, like you kind of forget it's animated and you're just in this like believability state that's way higher than any live action film can be, like bar none.
I mean, some of the Studio Ghibli movies, obviously, I would put near the top, like Howl's Moving Castle, I liked a lot, or Princess Mononoke, I really liked. There's some more modern. I don't know if this isn't a Studio Ghibli, but Paprika. Have you ever heard that? Or
oh yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't seen that one yet.
Perfect Blue is another one that's an adult, like a very adult anime, and there's so much potential with that that is kind of sad that there's not more. I mean, I know this had been reviewed earlier in the Cineverse, but the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. That was probably the last best anime. Like, that was shocking. And look, and that's something that, like, against all odds, it had like literally 4 directors and 2 producers who wrote it and are like very like they have their style or whatever, and somehow they all managed to collaborate and make a film that felt that unique and that single-minded. So
yeah, and just I mean, that was, you're right, it's probably the most recent example of like, okay, there's so much more potential in this realm, like why aren't more people doing it? But yeah. And then Akira is another one I saw recently that I was like, holy crap, like this was in 1988, but like it's so impressive, like the animation, and it's just very engaging and exciting, and it's just like, God, they could make movies like this. Why aren't they? Or even like what is it called, rotoscoped movie, is that what it's, am I mixing that up with something else?
When you have like a live feed and it's just animating over
like
video.
Waking Life. Have you seen that?
Man. No, I haven't seen that.
Oh God. So again, so much potential with that like version of animation. There was a show recently too that I started watching but I didn't finish, that was rotoscoped, and it was about a girl with going crazy or something, mental.
Oh.
And it's like, with that, it's just like so much potential to be realistic, but then also to just do everything that you can't do. And that you, like with special effects, with CGI, how easily they go bad, how easily CGI ages. But if you were doing it in an animated style, it's the style.
Yep, it's eternal. And then, like, it'll never break, like, even the best CGI will break reality. Like, even if in Black Widow, let's say that tank scene would have looked so photoreal, no one could say it's fake. It would still be like, there's a giant tank rolling down the streets. Like, there's a meter. But even if that same scene, but it was an animated film, like, subconsciously, at least in my brain, like, there is no breaking. It could be a tank the size of the moon, and it would, like, I would still be totally, like, in that zone of that world. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, as long as you have a style, you just pick your style and you keep it like consistent, you can do anything. Like, the possibilities are endless.
Well, all right, man. I think that is going to conclude our spoiler discussion for Luca. Let's see. Let me put in my plugs here if I can find them. All right. So yeah. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review or comment on what you think about our opinions there, especially about how much you also love animated films, hopefully. And then you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can watch us on YouTube. And you can email us at cineverm@yahoo.com. And thanks for listening. Next week we will be, or actually in a few days, we'll be reviewing Old, and that should be dropping soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Cineverse.